So let me then share my screen, huh? Just to summarize what we have been talking about. We're talking about मोशन। हम लोग बातचीत कर रहे हैं हलचल के बारे में, कि हलचल को कैसे उसको उसको परिभाषित किया जाए, हाउ डू वी डिफाइन इट, एंड देन हाउ डू वी डिस्क्राइब इट, उसको कैसे उसका बयान किया जाए, और फिर उसको कैसे नापा जाए, है ना, हाउ डू वी मेजर इट। ओके, सो लेट मी जस्ट share my share number 4. Yeah, no, not 4, sorry. Stop this share. Sorry. Sure, and number 5, what I want. Yeah. Hmm. So this is just to summarize the whole thing. So we have this object. हाँ, ये एक चीज है, और ये क्या कर रही है, हलचल कर रही है। तो मान लीजिए ये ऐसे करती है। तो इसने क्या करी, मैं कह सकता हूं कि इसने जगह बदली, और वो भी एक सीधी रेखा में, एक सीधी लकीर के साथ, बीच में कहीं घूमी नहीं है। तो इसके बारे में और बातचीत कैसे कर रहे थे हम। तो हमने कहा सबसे पहले तो हम ये बताएंगे कि किस दिशा में बदलाव हुआ है, तो वो हम एक तीर से बता सकते हैं। फिर हम ये बताएंगे कि वो, मैं नापूंगा कि कितनी दूर हुआ है, लेकिन वो नापने के लिए मुझे चाहिए कि कहीं से शुरू, कहाँ से शुरू करें हम। तो मैंने एक जगह बना ली। मैं उसको अपना प्रसंग कहता हूँ, आई कॉल इट माई रेफरेंस, दैट दिस इज वेयर आई एम गोइंग टू मेजर इट फ्रॉम। सो आई विल से दैट इट वॉज एट ए डिस्टेंस R1 फ्रॉम 0। मैं ये कहूंगा कि उसकी दूरी R1 थी, शून्य से, सिफर से। और जब वो हिली, तो वो इस काली मोटी तीर के साथ हिली, इस दिशा में हिली, और वो हो गई R2। आर मैंने एक निशान चुन लिया है कि वो किस तरफ और कितना दूर है। तो वो हो गई R1 से R2। तो और मुझे क्या चाहिए, हलचल है, जगह में बदलाव, स्थान में बदलाव। व्हाट इज मोशन टू मी राइट नाउ? आई हैव टेकन अ वेरी नैरो डेफिनेशन ऑफ इट, along a straight line. So it is change in location, change in place. So what was the location? The location was R1. Now the location is R2. So what is the change in location? R2 minus R1. ये उसमें बदलाव है, और इसको मैंने एक निशान बना लिया है बदलाव का। मैं उसको ऐसे भी लिख सकता हूं। तो जब भी आप ये देखेंगे डेल्टा आर, इसका मतलब है R2 माइनस R1। डेल्टा पी तो होगा P2 माइनस P1, एंड सो ऑन। ये बदलाव का निशान है। हम्म? लेकिन मान लीजिए ये घटनाएं होती हैं, अगर मैं घड़ी में समय देखता हूं, तो जहां वो थी शुरू की, तो वहां पर समय था T1, और जहां वो पहुंची वो है समय है T2। ठीक। तो अगर ऐसा है, तो मैं ये भी कह सकता हूं कि उसमें समय लगा, उसमें देर लगी। हम्म और उसको मैं कैसे निकालूंगा, अपनी घड़ी में से नापूंगा कि अभी कितने बजे हैं और बाद में कितने बजे थे। उन दोनों को घटाकर हम ये निकाल लेंगे कि कितना समय लगा या कितनी देर लगी। सो नाउ वी हैव कैलकुलेटेड टू थिंग्स, वन इज चेंज ऑफ प्लेस, एंड the time taken or the duration that it took for the change to happen. We have figured these two things. Is everybody with me? Does this look reasonable? Not too complex, I hope. I am trying my best to simplify things. Actually, that's my almost like job definition for me. How do we simplify things? Right? Okay. तो व्हेन डू वी से इवेंट इज फास्ट? कब हम कहते हैं कि कोई घटना जल्दी से हो गई, तेजी से हो गई, हम कब कहते हैं वो? हम्म एक मिनट। या जब जब वो तेज होती है, तो उसका मतलब है, उसके दो मतलब हो सकते हैं। या तो उसने ज्यादा दूरी तय की, दोनों ने समय बराबर लिया, दो घटनाओं ने, और ज्यादा दूरी एक ने तय की, तो हम कहेंगे कि वो चीज दूसरे के मुकाबले में जल्दी या तेजी से हो रही है। when one of the event, they're supposing two events happening, and there the only difference is that one is what we describe as fast. We use the word fast. So when do we say it is fast? If the time taken for both the events is same, then we are going to measure how much distance it moved, and the more distance it moved, the faster it is. Supposing somebody moves 20 kilometers in 1 hour, then it has, this is one event. And but there is another event, if it was to have covered 30 kilometers in an hour, so which one is faster? Time taken is same. Time taken is 1 hour for both of them, but the distance traveled is different. So if the more distance, if it is traveling 30 kilometers in an hour instead of 20, then we say that it is fast. There's another way to talk about fastness. What about if the distance traveled is the same? If the distance traveled is the same, then we look at the time. If the time taken to cover the distance is less, we say it is fast. If the time taken is more, we say it's less fast. Oh, so it's the relation of duration or the time taken is very different from the relation of the distance traveled. The distance traveled, it was like, the more distance traveled, the faster it is. The less distance traveled, less fast it is. But now, if I look at the time taken or the duration, I am saying if the duration is small, it is faster. If the duration is large, it is less fast. एक बार फिर से मैं दोहराने की कोशिश करता हूं हिंदी में, कि अगर हमने जो दूरी तय की है वो अगर ज्यादा है और समय बराबर लगा है, तो हम ये कहते हैं कि वो जल्दी से हो रहा है, तेजी से हो रहा है, शीघ्र हो रहा है। लेकिन अगर वो कम है, तो हम कहते हैं कि कम तेजी से हो रहा है, या धीरे भी उसको कह सकते हैं, धीमा भी कह सकते हैं। लेकिन समय के साथ क्या रिश्ता है? मान लीजिए वो दूरी तय दोनों में बराबर हो रही है, अगर वैसा हो रहा है तो हम समय को देखें। समय का मतलब है समय के अंतराल को, समय कितना लग रहा है उसको। हम देखेंगे देरी को। तो अगर देरी ज्यादा लग रही है, तो हम कहते हैं कि वो तेज कम है, और अगर देरी कम लग रही है, तो हम कहते हैं कि वो तेज है। यानी कि देरी और दूरी का रिश्ता जो है तेजी के साथ एक जैसा नहीं है, राइट? दे सीम टू बी सॉर्ट ऑफ अपोज टू ईच अदर। ऐसा लग रहा है कि दोनों एक दूसरे से उल्टा रिश्ता रखते हैं तेजी के साथ। तो एक बार फिर से, दोनों को जोड़ के भी कहा जा सकता है। या तो यही चीज हम कोण वाली गति के साथ भी कर सकते हैं, कि वो कितना घूम गई। बिल्कुल है, जैसे ये कर रहे हैं वही बात वहां भी की जाएगी। दूरी के बजाय ये होगा कि वो कितना घूम गई। ओके। लेकिन हमने ये भी सोचा है कि हम दोनों को मिलाकर भी बात कर सकते हैं। तो हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि तेजी का रिश्ता ये है, डेल्टा आर ओवर डेल्टा टी। ये उसका रिश्ता है। अब इसमें आप देख सकते हैं कि अगर डेल्टा आर को मैंने बढ़ाया, तो तेजी ज्यादा मानी जाएगी, और अगर डेल्टा टी को बढ़ाया, तो तेजी कम मानी जाएगी। तो जो मैं बात कहना चाह रहा हूं वो एक साथ भी कह सकता हूं। आई कैन टॉक अबाउट इट टूगेदर। See, if we can see that if I increase delta r, which is the distance traveled, then we have more fastness. And if we have more delta t, that means more duration, we have less fastness, and vice versa. So this seems like a good description of fastness, but I'm not saying it is equal. I don't know what equality is, because I don't know what exactly fastness is. All I have been able to find out is what is the dependence of fastness? What is the relation of fastness to two different things, distance traveled and time taken? Distance, duration. I have been able to find out the relation between these things, not an exact equation. Hmm? But the thought is that what is this quantity? What is this delta R by delta T? What is it? We don't know. It's just a number. It is just a number, right? And so we have decided to give it a name. So we have decided, or it could be delta theta by delta t if we were talking about angular velocity. And we have decided to give it a name and we call it speed. हम इसको रफ्तार कहते हैं. हमने तय किया है कि हम इस संख्या का एक नाम देंगे. तो ये कहीं से टपकी नहीं है. This thing hasn't just dropped from somewhere. It is actually a definition, and we as human beings have decided to give this quantity a name, and we call it speed. कि हम लोगों ने तय किया है कि हम इसका नाम देंगे. So there is no magic to it. There's no really magic to it. Where does it come from? It doesn't come from anywhere. We have just decided to give this quantity a name. And what does this quantity tell us? Oh, interestingly, the more this quantity is, the faster we say the event is happening. This we have seen from our life experience. हमने देखा है अपने जिंदगी के अनुभव से कि जब ये संख्या बड़ी होती है तब हम कहते हैं कि काम तेजी से हो रहा है. तो ये तेजी का नाप है. ये बिल्कुल तेजी तेजी नहीं है, लेकिन तेजी का नाप है. So fast is, we don't know how to measure it, but we have created a number which tells us something about fastness. And so we will have to give it a new name because it is not exactly fastness, but it is an indicator of whether the fastness is more or less. So we have given it a new name called speed. And the first person to give this name was actually Galileo. The year is around, he did most of his work 1600 post 1600. So we can say 1620, somewhere there, somewhere 1620s. The Galileo is the first person to define what it means to be fast. So he really didn't give a number for fast, but he ended up defining a new quantity, which tells us how much is the fastness. And again, that we have done previously, that an object may be traveling along a straight line or it may not be traveling along a straight line. So, and speed can be measured for change of place and change of orientation, change of angle, right? तो हम जो है रफ्तार नाप सकते हैं जो चीजें लकीर के साथ चल रही हैं उनका, तो उसको हम लकीर रफ्तार कहेंगे. और अगर वो घूम रही है, यानी कि उसकी जगह बदल ही नहीं रही है, वो सिर्फ अपनी जगह पर अपनी दिशा बदल रही है, अपना रुख बदल रही है, तो हम उसको कहेंगे कोण रफ्तार. क्योंकि असल में क्या बदल रहा होता है, उसका कोण बदल रहा होता है एक प्रसंग के साथ. इट इज चेंजिंग इट्स एंगल विद रेफरेंस टू ए angle that we have already, we have to a reference to a direction that we have agreed to, whatever that may be. So yes, again, that's a repeat of that. So okay, now let me see what is happening here. Let's just do a few examples of this. So okay, so this object moved, and let's say it moved 60 kilometers and in 2 hours. So what exactly is the speed? The speed is 60 kilometers in 2 hours. 60 over 2. That's the speed. Because delta R by delta T. And distance traveled by duration. And So it is very clear that distance traveled is 60 kilometers and the duration is 2 hours. So the speed is 60 kilometers every 2 hours. That's the speed. We can express it in many, many other ways. Yeah. So what Sachin is saying is 30 kilometers per hour. Per means one. So it is 30 kilometers in 1 hour. Yes. And it is also 15 kilometers in half an hour. So let me tell you that how many different ways you can express it in, right? There isn't this, it is not just kilometers per hour. Let's not get fixated on that. The real definition is total distance traveled over total time taken. So I probably want to emphasize here that speed is a ratio. I want to take some time to talk about this. And when we say it is a ratio, that means we are talking about two quantities, two numbers, not one. Anytime there is a ratio is a comparison, it's a multiplicative relationship between two sets. So, yeah, so the speed is, yes, when you said 30 kilometers kmph, so that means kilometers per hour. That means kilometers in 1 hour. So there are two numbers there, 30 kilometers and 1 hour, 30 and 1. And that's one way to express it. And or I could say 60 kilometers in 2 hours, or I could say uh, even I could say and half, 15 and half. So somehow I don't want my students to start thinking that this kmph is a unit. Kmph is not a unit. It is kilometers over hours. So it is the kilometers was 30, hours is 1. Let's not forget the meaning of that letter P over there. It is per. And per is 1 for every. That means 30 kilometers for every hour. Am I making sense? It would be nice to hear some people agree, disagree, clear, not clear, whatever. However you are feeling. No, is this making sense? That speed is not one number. Speed is first of all, it's a ratio. So it is necessarily two numbers. Always two numbers. Even when we are saying kilometers per hour, let's not forget that per means 1. So you are saying 30 kilometers in 1 hour. 1 is a number. 1 is also a number. Right? Important to remember that. Sorry, I may be dwelling on that, but I really want to make sure that this gets across. So supposing again there is an object traveling like this, and again 4 kilometers in 1 hour. So I will just say that my speed is 4 kilometers in 1 hour. There are two numbers. There cannot be one number when you talk about speed. Right? In fact, this is a rate. This is a rate. Just like when we go to the vegetable market and we ask how do you sell tomatoes? It is like, 40 rupees for 1 kg. अगर हम सब्जी मंडी जाएं तो हम जैसे टमाटर खरीदने लगे तो हम पूछें जी इसका दाम क्या है, तो वो भी एक दर है और वो क्या बताएगा जी 40 रुपए किलो. तो वो किलो बोल रहा है, मतलब 1 किलो. वो बोल नहीं रहा है लेकिन 1 किलो बोल रहा है, तो वो 1 किलो के बारे में बात कर रहा है. तो आप कहेंगे कि 40 रुपए का 1 किलो है, वो भी एक दर है. दैट इज ऑल्सो अ रेट. जस्ट लाइक स्पीड, इट इज ऑल्सो अ रेशियो. वो भी एक अनुपात है ना. तो अनुपात में हमेशा दो संख्याएं होती हैं. अगर आप बाजार में केला खरीदने जाएंगे तो वो कह सकता है कि जी 24 रुपए दर्जन. If you go to buy bananas, he may end up telling you it is 24 rupees to a dozen. So that is again a rate, and rate will always have two numbers. So speed is a rate. तो देखिए एक बार फिर से, कोई वस्तु चल रही है, so what is the speed? I need to know what is delta r, I need to know what is delta t, and then I will express them as a ratio. I will just say 2 meters over 1 second or 2 meters per second. I can express it in many ways. It is not necessary to express it as division. It is not. I can just say 2 meters every 1 second. Now let's look at this. How will we calculate the speed is what I am wondering. So this is not along a straight line. This is not at all along a straight line. This is how the object moved. ये वस्तु जो है ये सीधी रेखा में नहीं चल रही है, सीधी लकीर के साथ नहीं चल रही है, ये तो कुछ टेढ़ी मेढ़ी चल रही है। तो इसकी रफ्तार हम कैसे निकालें? हम फिर भी कई तरीके से निकाल सकते हैं उसकी रफ्तार। हम ये कह सकते हैं कि ये 14 कदम चली या 7 कदम चली, सॉरी 14 सेकेंड में। लेकिन मैं ये भी कह सकता हूं कि कितने कदम था। हम्म ये भी कहा जा सकता है। तो अगेन, इट इज अ रेट. It can be in distance, it may not be in distance, it may not necessarily be in meters. Rates can be expressed in many ways. और ये वस्तु देखिए ऐसे चली गई, तो अब मैं इसका कैसे निकालूंगा? What is the speed? Oh, I don't know. I can divide it into 16 little pieces and say that 16 steps in 8 seconds. या फिर मैं दूरी भी नाप सकता हूं। हो सकता है ये 20 किलोमीटर का रास्ता हो, तो मैं कह सकता हूं कि 20 किलोमीटर 8 सेकंड में, वो दैट्स ऑल्सो ओके, वो भी चलेगा। नाउ लेट्स लुक एट अनदर वन। या द ऑब्जेक्ट कम्स बैक टू इट्स प्लेस। ये देखिए, और ये फिर से, और ये फिर से। सो हाउ डू आई टॉक अबाउट स्पीड? कैसे निकालूंगा रफ्तार क्या है? तो मैं ये निकाल सकता हूं कि वो कितने चक्कर लगाता है। मैंने तो ऐसे ही लिख दिए कुछ यहाँ पे संख्याएं। मैंने तो ये दीज आर जस्ट आर्बिट्री नंबर्स, बट आई एम सेइंग दैट इफ इट डज 30 राउंड्स इन 10 seconds, तो दैट इज माय स्पीड. My unit is rounds in seconds. My unit is just rounds in seconds. So I can calculate the speed of events. I can calculate the speed of distance traveled. I can calculate it in many ways. Okay. Let's look at this one. Okay. So it does. Did you notice something in this? Let me do this one more time. Yeah. So, maybe this is a question for everybody here. What did you notice? What was different from what we have been seeing so far? This was a little different. Not moving at the same speed. Okay. Very good. Does this make sense to everybody? Maybe you need to watch it one more time. Yep. तो पहले वो चल रहा है और फिर अचानक से कहीं बीच में वो उसने उसने अपनी रफ्तार बढ़ा दी। ठीक है। तो बट दिस इज एन इवेंट। आई हैव अ इनिशियल पोजीशन एंड अ फाइनल पोजीशन। मेरे पास एक शुरुआत है और एक उसका आखिर है? तो इसमें मैं रफ्तार कैसे निकालूं, ये सवाल है। क्या? ओके, या, थैंक यू। तो मैं इसमें रफ्तार कैसे निकालूंगा? अगर मैं जो मैंने अभी तक रफ्तार बनाई है, अगर मैं वो रफ्तार निकालूंगा तो वो तो सही नहीं होगा, क्योंकि इसमें तो एक रफ्तार नहीं है, यहां पर दो रफ्तार होने चाहिए। हम्म लुक एट दैट। So I covered the first 50 meters in 2 hours and the next 40 meters in 1 hour. Let's just say that, because that is how it is designed to be. Like two different speeds. Hmm? They change. Suddenly the speed changes. So for the whole event, but the event is one. It's one event. Hmm? For example, me driving the car, it can be anything. What about it? Yeah, so the total distance by total time. है ना, डोलमा जी बोल रहे हैं कि it will still be total distance by total time. But what is that number you will get? So the number you will get is 30. Does that make sense? You will get 30 meters per hour. Does that make sense? If I was to divide total distance by total time taken, then I'm getting 90 meters in 3 hours. Or I could say 30 meters in 1 hour. Or I could say 15 meters in half an hour. That is the number I have. But for the first 50 meters, for the first 2 hours, the speed is actually 25. What is the speed in the first 2 hours? Yes, Prashmi ji. My kids are not born with the idea of average speed. That is the problem. I know what you are saying. Hmm? And my concern is, how do I introduce it without using the word average speed? Because I haven't defined it. If you haven't defined it, don't use it. I'm going to repeat this again and again. I'm going to repeat this again and again, that, if you haven't defined something, don't use it. I can't tell my kids that this is the average speed. What do you mean your average speed? You didn't tell me what it is. Hmm? But I'm trying to make sense here that in the first 2 hours, my speed was 50 meters into every 2 hours. So that means I can say 25 meters every hour. And in the next 1 hour, my speed is 40 meters per hour. Hey, my speed was either 25 or 40. So what about this number 30? What do I do with it? My object was never traveling at the speed of 30. So what is this 30 then? Am I telling a lie? It doesn't make any sense at all to say 30. It's a useless piece of information now, because my object was never traveling at the speed of 30 meters per hour. It was either traveling at the speed of 25 meters per hour or 40 meters per hour, never at 25. So what does that number 25, sorry, 30, never at 30, sorry. It was traveling at 25 meters per hour for the first 2 hours, and then for the next 1 hour, it was traveling at 40 meters per hour, 40 meters per hour. So it was traveling either at 25 or 40. But when I am calculating using my so-called, formula, if I have come up with one, which was that total distance traveled by total time taken, the number I get is 30. It's like, this is funny. My number is not telling me the truth. So what do we do? And what do we say? And how do we resolve this? Hmm? So I want to hear some comments on this. I mean, how would you introduce this? How would you solve this? Why are we telling lies? When the object was never traveling at 30, it's a useless piece of information then. Again, average speed. You cannot use this word average speed. Have you defined it? No. So we don't use words which we have not defined. And instantaneously, what is that? I'm teaching to my fifth grader. Please, let's use the language which my fifth grader can understand. Hmm? We need to calculate two speeds here. I like that, Gaurav. I really love that. Maybe we need to calculate two speeds, no? Yeah. And we need to tell that this is the speed for the first 2 hours and that is the speed for the. Hmm? हाँ बिल्कुल सही है जी सचिन कि आप ये कह रहे हैं कि इस घटना को हम दो हिस्सों में तोड़ लें. एब्सोल्युटली एग्रीड. ठीक है तो वो एक तरीका है. और मैं सुनना चाहूंगा कि और बाकी लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं कि वो अपनी कक्षा में क्या 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 बोलेंगे क्या. आप कैसे बताते हो. हम्म? Change in speed, can we bring in uniform speed here? Yeah, what about uniform speed? नीता जी आप थोड़ा बताएंगे तो आई डिडंट क्वाइट गेट इट. व्हाट अबाउट यूनिफॉर्म स्पीड. स्कूल में यूनिफॉर्म जो बच्चे पहन के आते हैं वो वाली. ये कौन सी यूनिफॉर्म स्पीड की बात हो रही है. हाँ विच यूनिफॉर्म आर वी टॉकिंग अबाउट. सेम स्पीड थ्रू आउट डिस्टेंस. No, we don't have the same speed throughout the distance. So I'm confused why you are saying it is uniform. This is not uniform speed. Hmm? Yes, that is correct. Practically, speed is not uniform in everyday life. I mean, I wouldn't agree with that though. Hmm? हमारी धरती सूरज के चारों तरफ जा रही है and the speed is uniform. So don't let's not say that we don't experience uniform speed. We do. We do. But this one is not uniform. Yes. So this one is not uniform. But so what? So then what do we do? So that formula that we have created, हमने जो ये एक बना लिया था सूत्र कि डेल्टा आर ओवर डेल्टा टी. उसका क्या हुआ. सो नाउ दैट बिकम्स यूजलेस और नॉट. राइट. हाउ डू वी सॉल्व दिस. हमने करना क्या है. और अभी तो ये दो घटनाओं में दो हिस्सों में तोड़ा है. अगर मैं इसको अगर इसकी रफ्तार 4 बार बदल रही होती तो क्या करते हो. If the speed was changing not just once, here the speed changed once. But what about if it was changing multiple times? That means we are saying that there is no concept of speed. Because if I was going from here to Pathankot where I live, and the distance is 120 kilometers, and I covered it in let's say 4 hours. यहां से पठानकोट 120 किलोमीटर दूर है और मैंने 4 घंटे में कर लिया. तो मैं क्या कहूंगा मेरी क्या रफ्तार थी. मतलब मैं तो कहना चाहूंगा शायद कि 30 किलोमीटर 1 घंटे में. लेकिन क्या मैं झूठ बोल रहा हूं. क्योंकि कभी 30 रफ्तार थी मेरी. वॉज देयर एनी टाइम एट विच आई वॉज गोइंग एट 30. Sometimes I was going at 40, sometimes I had stopped for a tea break, sometimes there were cows on the highway, sometimes there was an accident, whatever. Sometimes there was nobody, so I was going at 50, 60, कुछ भी हो सकता है ना. So what is that number 30. वो तो कुछ है ही नहीं, मीनिंग ही नहीं है. And yet it seems it's kind of useful though. Still it is kind of useful. But it is not useless. So, but for now, it looks like I am telling a lie. I am spreading falsehood. I am telling my speed is, in this example that we have in front of us, I am saying my speed is 30. when actually it was never 30, right? So what do I do? How can I solve this? So one idea is, of course, that we break the event into two parts. Yes. So that's another neat trick we can do. Hmm? What can we do? We can reduce. See here, what am I doing? Yeah, it speeds up and then again slows down. Even worse. Hmm? So we are saying, see, it has three different speed keeps changing. And this is only 3 times. It can be 4 times. It can be 5 times. It can be any number of times. So what do we do? So, what can we say about this? This formula seems useless now to me. For any event, suddenly, this is a meaningless quantity. This is a lie. This is a farce. This is false. ये तो झूठ बोला जा रहा है हमसे, क्योंकि ये रफ्तार तो कभी थी ही नहीं मेरी वस्तु की। तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूं? एक काम कर सकता हूं मैं। देखिए, और ये मैं यहां पे लिख रहा हूं फिर से कि व्हाट अबाउट इफ देयर वर, इफ द स्पीड इज चेंजिंग मल्टीपल टाइम्स। यहां से पठानकोट जाऊंगा तो पता नहीं, ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है, मुझे तो लगता है कि मेरी रफ्तार 50,000 बार बदलने वाली है। पता नहीं, रास्ते में कभी कुत्ते आ जाते हैं, कभी गाय आ जाती है, कभी कुछ भी हो जाता है यहाँ पर, कभी पॉटहोल्स आ जाते हैं। तो सो हाउ डू आई एवर कैलकुलेट माई स्पीड? एवर? तो मैं तो अपनी रफ्तार कभी नाप ही नहीं पाऊंगा, अनलेस आई डू ए स्मॉल लिटिल ट्रिक। हम क्या करेंगे? रफ्तार को सही कैसे बनाएं? हाउ डू वी मेक दिस कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ स्पीड मोर मीनिंगफुल? बिकॉज इट डज हैव ए मीनिंग. So I am using this delta t. Huh? Why not make it small? When I calculate the speed, I should use as small as I can duration to calculate my speed. So then I will be telling you the speed at that interval. But at least it will not be a falsehood. At least कम से कम मैं झूठ नहीं बोल रहा हूं. कम से कम हो सकता है ना, 5 मिनट के लिए तो हो सकता है ना मेरी रफ्तार इतनी रही हो, तो उस 5 मिनट में ये रफ्तार है मेरी बस। अगले 10 मिनट में अलग है, अगले 2 मिनट में फिर अलग है। तो हर बार मुझे हिसाब करना पड़ेगा, मुझे रफ्तार निकालनी पड़ेगी, राइट? तो व्हेन इज माय आंसर करेक्ट? माय आंसर बिकम्स मोर एंड मोर करेक्ट, बिकॉज हो सकता है वो 5 मिनट और 10 मिनट में भी मेरी रफ्तार बदल गई हो, उसके अंदर भी बदल सकता है। अगर मैं 2 मिनट बोलूंगा तो हो सकता है 2 मिनट में भी बदली हो, राइट? तो मैं सही कब बोल रहा हूं, मैं सच कब बोल रहा हूं? जब ये मेरी जो ड्यूरेशन है डेल्टा टी, देरी जो है मेरी डेल्टा टी, वो जितनी छोटी मैं करूंगा उतना मेरा जवाब सही होगा। मैं सही जवाब की तरफ बढ़ रहा हूं। आई एम मूविंग टुवर्ड्स ए राइट आंसर, आई एम मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द ट्रूथ। If I take the whole distance and divide it by the total duration, that's a total nonsense. That makes no sense whatsoever, because that never tells me what the speed is. That's a totally something else. It is not speed, first of all. So we will have to give it some other word. We made a mistake. We made a mistake. Or in our definition, we should have added something that please, when you calculate speed, calculate it for as small a duration as you possibly can. So we say that speed is equal to delta r over delta t for very small duration. अब ये जोड़ना पड़ेगा, because only then it is true. Then it is true. Otherwise, it's probably not very meaningful. And is for this new definition, we'll give it a new name. So this is telling me information in a very small time interval. And how small? As small as I can possibly do it. Okay? I'm not saying that how small it has to be. So all I'm saying is that how can we get closer to the truth? We can get as close to the truth by using the duration to be as small as possible. Does that make sense? I'm not saying it is zero, because if it is zero, then we can't do it. It would be meaningless then. So it can't be zero also, but it has to be very small. Okay. So without using too much of jargon of calculus, I am trying to introduce this idea of कि मेरी instantaneous speed now. That means in a small instant, in a small time interval. Instant is a very small time interval, as small as you can imagine, and or as small as you can measure, probably as small as it is useful to you, like that. हम इसको बोलते हैं तत्काल रफ्तार या फौरन रफ्तार, जब हम बहुत छोटा समय लेंगे. So, so this is the end of the introduction to the idea of instantaneous speed. What about this old formula of ours? What happens to this? What do we do with this? So this again, we called it speed, and now we have defined a new thing called instantaneous speed. Instantaneous speed is speed with very small time interval, very small duration. That is it. That's pretty much it. So either we can call it speed, or we could give this also a new name. And now we introduce, and I'm saying that this is not wrong, but this is not the speed. This never was the speed, ever. This is an abstract quantity that I have calculated. ये सिर्फ मेरे हिसाब किताब करने के लिए मैंने एक चीज बना ली थी, लेकिन ये असल में ये रफ्तार कभी नहीं थी. And I will give it a name, and I will call it an overall speed of the event. That means कि पूरी घटना का कितना समय लगा और कितनी दूरी तय हुई पूरी घटना में, उसको मैं अगर भाग दूंगा तो मुझे कुछ मिलेगा, कुछ नंबर, और उसको मैं कहता हूं कि जी पूरी घटना होने में इतनी देर लगी, तो इतनी देर में ये काम हो जाता है मेरा, ऐसे. राइट. सो इट इज मोर लाइक एन ओवरऑल स्पीड फॉर अ इवेंट. एंड we can also, people also call it by the name of average speed. So this is the first time again I'm defining it. So now once I've defined, I can start using it. Okay. नीता जी पूछ रही हैं कि why small time. Okay. Let me go back maybe to my one of my examples here. Let's see which picture will be useful is what I'm thinking. Let's go to this example. Yeah, this one. Okay. So if I wanted to calculate what was the speed of my object, I will have to take two times, t1 and t2, and subtract and find out t2 minus t1. ये बात सही है? ये आपको ठीक लग रहा है कि हमको घटाना पड़ेगा अगर मुझे रफ्तार निकालनी है, कभी भी रफ्तार निकालनी है, तो मुझे ये काम करना पड़ेगा, मुझे देरी और दूरी निकालनी पड़ेगी. लेकिन मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि जो देरी निकालने के लिए अगर हम उस देरी को छोटा समय ढूंढें, यानी कि मैं ये कह रहा हूं इसमें तो पूरे घटना में तो मुझे 3 घंटे लगे थे, 2 घंटे और 1 घंटा. 2 घंटे शुरू में, और फिर उसके बाद मैंने रफ्तार बदल दी, और फिर 1 घंटा. लेकिन अगर मैं ये कहूं कि पहले आधे घंटे में क्या रफ्तार थी, तो मैंने अब खेल बदल दिया थोड़ा सा. तो पहले आधे घंटे में जब रफ्तार निकालूंगा तो मैं t2 माइनस t1 करूंगा, और वो रफ्तार पता है कितनी निकलेगी? 25. हर घंटे में 25 वाली रफ्तार मेरी निकल आएगी. या मैं ये भी कह सकता हूं कि चलो पहले 2 घंटे में क्या रफ्तार थी वो निकालो, या दूसरे 1 घंटे में क्या रफ्तार थी. मतलब कहीं पे भी मैं निकालूंगा, तो मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि मैं जितना छोटा मैं समय का अंतराल लूंगा, उतना मेरा जवाब सही होगा. वो पूरी तरह से कभी सही होगा ये मैं गारंटी नहीं दे रहा हूं. देयर इज नो गारंटी दैट आई विल हैव द राइट आंसर. But what I'm saying is the smaller the time interval you choose, because you will have to calculate the speed, you always have to calculate two times, right? T2 and T1. And you can choose them anywhere in the event if you want. But that will be the speed during that interval. But the smaller the interval, more likely it is that my answer is correct. I'm just hoping that somehow I did not change the speed in that very small interval. Supposing I say 5 minute interval. Hmm. The likelihood of my changing speed in that 5 interval is much less than having changed the speed in that 3 hour period. Think of driving a car. Think of driving a car. You're driving along. So if I asked you the speed in any 5 minute interval, most likely your answer may be more correct than when if I told you that let's calculate the speed for 3 hours. The 3 hour speed is not speed at all. It never was the speed at any given time. But when I ask you 5 minute interval, I think you may turn out to. And if I told you, okay, 1 minute interval, not even 5 minutes, let's calculate it in any 1 minute. I think most likely I might get a very good answer, which will be meaningful. And I'll tell you which 1 minute. It's not like that was not the speed all the time. That was the speed during this 1 minute, 43rd minute, whatever it may be. Hmm? Prashmi ji, yes, आप जो पूछ रही हैं, I am hoping that is what I am trying to answer actually, yeah, in a way. So maybe you can help me too. Hmm? You can also help me with this. So if even 1 minute I think is too much, then I will say, okay, let's do it in 10 seconds. Hmm? We will try to make the interval as small as possible. Then we are closer to the truth. We will say that, this is right. At this time, I was traveling. Supposing I had stopped for a tea break for 15 minutes. And during that 15 minutes, if I calculate my speed, I will get zero. Because the distance traveled during that 15 minutes is zero. So for that 15 minutes, I have the right answer because my time interval I'm using is 15 minutes. But if I use the time interval of 3 hours, then my answer is not going to tell me that I had ever stopped for tea on the way. It will never give me that answer. It will never tell me that answer. So in some way, some ways, it's a false answer. When I say that calculate the total distance traveled by total time taken or the total duration, that's a false answer. That is never the speed of the object. But if I make my time interval smaller and smaller and smaller, I will come closer to the truth. But it will be only for that interval. It won't be for beyond that interval. I'll have to tell you with what was like, for between 4:30 and 4:45. So that is the 15 minute. So for that particular time interval, I will calculate the speed and I will say, I think I am hoping that we will be closer to the truth. If I want to be more closer, I'll have to say 4:45 to 4:50, maybe 5 minute interval. Then I'll be even more accurate. Okay. So let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's not wrong. It's wrong. Actually, it is wrong because this is not the speed. So I will stop calling it speed. That is the first thing. Because it is not the speed of the object at all. Especially of an object which is changing, where the speed is changing, which is very likely than not. Some things don't change speed. So yes, but for most of the cases, this will be, so we will call it the overall speed. That's not a bad word actually, come to think about it. So it's an overall speed. That means sometimes it was slower, sometimes it was faster, sometimes it was stopped. But overall, this is the answer I'm getting. But never at any particular instant. Hmm? Yeah. 25 and 40. Yeah. So, and you are saying if I, how did you get 32.5? I don't know. No, this is not correct though. Yeah. Yeah. Gauravji, you'll have to tell me. How did you get your 32.5? Because the average speed definition is total distance traveled by total time taken. Total distance by total duration. Again, I want to keep repeating that word duration.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, I just tried to do this on the paper. If we have like, if we divide this into two parts,
Yeah.
where 50 meters is traveled in 2 hours,
Yes.
let's say 25 meters per hour, and the other part is 40 meters per hour.
Yes.
And I just tried to do my own math that I can add these two speeds, and there are two events. That's why I'm dividing them by two.
Or
So even if we have, yeah,
yeah, so the average speed is not the average.
yeah.
It is not the average of these two numbers. That is not correct.
Okay. I was just clarifying because it was close to what was our total distance and overall speed.
It
That's
was
why.
like, 3 hours and 90 meters.
Yeah.
So the speed is 30. No, but Gaurav, the point you have brought up is very, very important. This is a mistake that a lot of my kids are going to make. So average speed is not calculated by taking the average of the different speeds. No, it is not.
Yes.
Because the first 40 kilometers was for 2 hours. Sorry, 25 kilometers per second was for 2 hours. And the next 40 meters per second was for only 1 hour. So you can't just add them and divide by two. But Gaurav, thank you very much for bringing this up because this is the mistake my kids will make too. But we have already defined what is the overall speed, as in the current slide you are seeing. It is the total distance traveled by total duration. We don't have a shortcut. We don't have this formula that you are trying to use, which was that I calculated for the first 2 hours and speed, and then I calculated the speed for the next 1 hour, and then I took the average of the two numbers. No, I mean, this is a great example. Awesome.
Yeah. It's a good mistake to make to have clarity.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So we have given a new definition of overall speed of any event. And overall speed is not the speed at any given time. It's not. And we are accepting it. We are saying it. When I say overall, I am saying that, oh, it's not at any one given time. It's overall. It's overall. Right? So that acceptance is also there with me. So we also will call it average speed. But how we will calculate the average speed, the formula remains. I mean, that this is a word that I have, it is not an average, it's an average speed. So average speed's formula still remains the same, delta R by delta T. हम्म? ये औसत रफ्तार जो है, ये किसी एक समय की रफ्तार नहीं है। ये सारी घटना की पूरा पूरा बड़ी नजर से अगर देखें तो कुल मिलाकर उसकी रफ्तार है। लेकिन ये किसी भी एक समय की रफ्तार नहीं है। आप नहीं कह सकते हैं कि इस रफ्तार से गाड़ी चल रही थी। नहीं, ये गलत होगा। ये इस घटना की रफ्तार है, पूरी घटना की। बीच में नहीं इस ये जवाब नहीं दे सकता है उस चीज का। तो इसलिए एवरेज स्पीड इज क्वाइट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम इंस्टेंटेनियस स्पीड। औसत रफ्तार हमारी तत्काल रफ्तार से काफी फर्क है, काफी फर्क है। तत्काल रफ्तार मुझे ये नहीं बता सकता है कि मुझे कुल मिला के कितना समय लगेगा, लेकिन शायद ये बता सकता है औसत रफ्तार मुझे। तो दोनों के अलग अलग नुकसान और फायदे होने वाले हैं। ओके। या Uh, oh, see what I'm trying to do here when I don't know. Hmm? Okay. तो ये था, हाँ सॉरी, यही वाला दोबारा से है, टू डिफरेंट स्पीड्स, ये थ्री डिफरेंट स्पीड्स, and we can have many different speeds, four different speeds, or five different speeds, we can have many different speeds. So what is the relation? So this is the definition of average speed. को ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं, लेकिन ये लिखना कोई जरूरी नहीं है, शायद इसको एवरेज स्पीड ही शब्दों में ही लिखेंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा, द ओवरऑल स्पीड। तो इसका मतलब है कि रफ्तार दो तरह की है, रफ्तार दो तरह की है। एक वो जिसमें हम जितना छोटा अंतराल या देरी ले सकते हैं, वो वाली, और एक वो जिसमें हम पूरे घटना का समय लेंगे। तो एवरेज स्पीड विल टेल मी it will give me a sense for the distance, for the how fast the overall event happened, but that will not tell me anything in between. It doesn't tell me at any given time what was happening. And on the other hand, my instantaneous speed tells me what is happening at each and every instant. And I will have to calculate it separately depending on my need. Which instant am I interested in? वो मुझे निकालनी पड़ेगी। And right now it may not seem important that what is the point of doing these two, but very soon when we start calculating the cause of this change, the speed is changing. We can talk about that why speed changes. उसके बारे में भी बात कर सकते हैं। तो I will let me see. I'm thinking whether to move on or maybe we can stop here. I mean, this is just the beginning of motion. But if this is clear, then life will be easy. If this is clear, I'm uh, I don't know how to put this, but I'm trying to say that when we go to even Newton, and these definitions will be very useful and very important. It will be always important to remember the difference between average speed and instantaneous speed. They are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. And the difference is not trivial. The difference is not trivial. Maybe I'll try using the whiteboard यहाँ पर. देखो, let me see for some interesting things. I would just want to show you that where we can go with this. Where is share? And is there a whiteboard? Screen application. Is there a whiteboard I can use? No, I
Yes,
don't see.
yes, sir. It should be in the rightmost corner. You can see more would be written there. Three
Right.
dots.
Oh yeah, more. Yeah. Okay. More. But not in the share, right?
No, if you click on that, you will
More.
be able to
Oh
see.
yeah, I see the whiteboard now. A new whiteboard. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, so it's come up with the whiteboard. So let me try to draw how a object is moving. Okay, and at every minute I am drawing its location. And it is moving in this direction. So what can you tell me about this object? What can you tell me about this object? It's moving in this direction, and at every minute I'm taking a picture and plotting the location. Okay, it was here, it was here. हर मिनट में मैं तस्वीर ले रहा हूं इस वस्तु की और उसका एक निशान लगाते जा रहा हूं कि वो कहां पर है। तो इसके बारे में हम क्या कह सकते हैं? कुछ भी, एनी कमेंट? Sorry, I can, I'm wondering, yeah, anything that you can say about this? इसके बारे में क्या हो रहा है इस घटना में? ये ऊपर की तरफ जा रही है वस्तु, ये ठीक है, सेम डायरेक्शन एट सेम स्पीड। थैंक यू। तो यानी कि इसकी रफ्तार में बदलाव नहीं हो रहा है। ओके, नाउ लेट मी ड्रॉ इट। मैं इसको, ओके लेट मी सी, व्हाइट बोर्ड, traveling at the same distance at every time interval, absolutely perfect, ठीक है। So now I'm going to make some change, yeah। So अभी I'm going to draw it like this। कहाँ गया ये? Yeah, whiteboard, yeah, okay। Now let me draw it like this। And again it's moving in this direction, okay, yeah। So what can you tell me about this object, right? What can you tell me about this object? I think we can tell some interesting things। हम ये कह सकते हैं कि इसकी रफ्तार बदल गई और एक जगह पे बदली है, शायद वो है यहां। सो राइट, नाउ कैन वी मेक ए गेस कि इसकी रफ्तार यहां क्यों बदली होगी? मान लो दिस वाज ए फुटबॉल, ओके, जस्ट फुटबॉल रोलिंग अलोंग। तो जा रही थी एंड सडनली स्पीड इंक्रीज हो गई। कैन यू टेल मी व्हाई दैट वुड हैव हैपेंड? द क्वेश्चन इज व्हाई। So far we have been discussing mostly what, and now I am shifting that, okay, to a little bit of why. I'm just trying to give you a flavor of, where this goes ultimately. So you see, what can you tell me would have happened which made it change its speed? Yeah. Any ideas what would have happened? Somebody kicked at that point to increase its speed. Absolutely. Great. Hmm? So can I say that it was pushed? Kicked is fine. Pushed. I'm just going to use the word push. And can you tell me in which direction it was pushed? Can we say that it was pushed in this same direction in which it was moving? Reasonable? Reasonable to say that? Somebody kicked at to increase its speed. Yes, right? So I can say that there was a push applied in at this point in this direction. Right? Okay. Now let me change my picture one more time. Okay. What about this one? What do you think is happening here? What happened? The ball was rolling, and then what happened? Yeah, yes, एकता जी बोल रही हैं कि in the direction of motion. Perfect. अब इस तस्वीर में क्या हुआ है? In the direction opposite to the direction of motion. Right. What must have happened at that in the direction opposite to the direction of motion, but what? Somebody must have kicked it or pushed it, or yeah, somebody pushed it or pulled it. Yeah, yeah, pulled it would also work, right? Instead of push, somebody must have pulled it, right? In which direction? Probably in this direction. So see, just by looking, just by measuring the speed at different points, I am able to make many more conclusions. I am able to tell you that, oh, somebody pushed it, somebody pulled it. Not only that, I can also tell you in which direction. And, not today, but yeah, Kavita ma'am. Yeah, please go ahead, Kavita ji. Just, but button.
Sir,
Yeah.
am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible.
Sir, sir, you are putting that mark little bit upward, right, sir? First one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, like that. How can you are saying that the ball is moving opposite side? That
No, no, no,
point I
no.
couldn't.
The ball is not moving in the opposite side. Sorry. This arrow is not about the ball. You know what? I, the ball is moving in this direction, Ji. That should be clear. The
Okay.
ball is still moving upwards or northwards, whichever way you want to
Okay.
like to see it, right? But every minute I take a picture and plot it. Every minute I take a picture and plot it. And from that plot, I am able to tell that it slowed down. It has two different speeds.
Oh,
One is large speed in the beginning, and then the speed reduces because it is covering smaller distance. And we have already figured out that if in the same time interval, if the distance traveled is reduced, then speed is reduced. So I'm just using that term to say that speed has reduced. And what Ektaji and many others have pointed out, I was asking, why do you think that must have happened? Why would the speed of an object change at all? By itself, it won't. Something must have happened. And I am putting, that at this point over here, this point as in this point, this point here, somebody must have pushed it, applied a push. In which direction? So that it slowed down. It must have been in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. Somebody must have pushed it in this direction so that it slowed down. That does not mean that it has started moving in this direction. No, that's not what I'm saying. Every word will carry a meaning, right? And the previous one was that the push applied was in this direction. And you see how the speed had increased. So somehow this push and pull business is related to change of speed. Push and pull. My push is related to change of, I have a symbol for change, which is my delta of speed. Interesting. Maybe some other time, if I start from here, we will go into the definition of how to measure this push. If I push a lot more, then the ball will slow down a lot more. If I push a little, it will slow down only little. If I push more in the direction of motion, it will speed up. And if I push a lot more, it will speed up more. So that means clearly my push can be measured by measuring the change in speed. So this concept of speed is going to come in very, very useful. I am going to use it to measure push and pull, or kick, or hit, or bang, whatever you might call it. I don't know how to measure them yet, but I'm getting closer because I know how to calculate speed, because I know how to calculate place, then I know how to calculate change in place. I know how to calculate time. I know how to calculate change in time. I can take a ratio. I can call it speed, and then I can calculate change in speed. And when I calculate that, that will tell me how much somebody is pushing me. This will directly take me to the Newton's laws. Right? We start from very basic, and I will keep using the basic ideas to explain complicated things. And if I'm using a word, I must have defined it. I must have properly defined it, what exactly it is. So I'm using here delta S. So I have defined delta, which means change. S, speed. Perfect. I have. So change in speed is a result of pushing, right? Just for you who are jargon happy, this change in speed business will be acceleration. Yeah, Ekta ji go, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's what we are getting at. But we'll get there, and we will define it. Once we get to the exact place, we will say that, oh, we will give it a name. We will call it this from now onwards. Yes, we will do that at some point. But yeah, this is it. So as far as I'm concerned, this is all I have for today. And just wanted to give you a flavor of where this goes. But if we miss out on the concept clarity in the beginning, we will totally mess up when we go ahead. Then we will have to just memorize things. We won't be left with an option. We won't be left with an option. So thank you very much. Otherwise, I'm here for any comments and questions. I think Firki also wanted to give you some forms, but we can have a few minutes. Yeah. But we must honestly state what we know and what we don't know. So the moment I'm writing this on the whiteboard, I'm saying that I don't know how to measure push. I'm upfront about it, that I don't know what push, how to measure push. Is it measured in kilograms or meters or hours or I don't know. I don't know how to measure push. I have no clue. But I know what effect it has. I know what effect. Push has the effect of either increasing speed or decreasing speed. And push has a direction. I know that. That I know. I know push has a direction. I can push in a particular direction, right? So, yeah.
Before we take questions, I'll quickly jump in. I'm so sorry. Just wanted to extend my gratitude, sir. Thank you so much for leading this wonderful 3-day workshop series. I think over these sessions, we did not just talk about science, we lived it. We did science. And we also explored new ways to bring motions alive, and I'm sure that teachers are walking away with fresh ideas they can use immediately in their classrooms. So thank you so much for your time and expertise. I think that they have made a real difference, and we truly appreciate that. I'll quickly request Meenu to share feedback form and certificate link and exit slip link in the chat. Um, I'll request participants to fill that. Exit slip help us to understand your learning from today's topic, and feedback form captures your overall experience and it is linked to your certificate. So if you do not fill feedback form, you will not be getting certificate. So make sure you are doing that. We are here for a few minutes. So if you have any question, if you want to discuss, feel free to share that with. So yeah.
I do notice that we have almost the same strength today as we had yesterday. So I don't know if I should, take that as a good thing, or is it just the certificate? One never knows, huh? One never knows. Mhm.
I think participants can help us to understand. Please share in the chat how
Yeah,
did you find this
please
space.
share exactly how you feel. I know there wasn't too much space for discussion and things like that. I understand that. And I don't know, sometimes we fail at that. I just have to accept it. And online is a tough
Good
media,
evening.
tough for us. Yes, Divyesh.
Good evening to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank you, sir, and thank you, Firki team, to arrange this session. And from this 3 day session, I had learned a lot and so many new things, that new ideas. Already we are a teacher, so we are teaching the topics, but we learned something new ways how to teach them with the help of these activities that we can show them. So thank you so much, sir.
Most
Thank
welcome,
you, team,
Divyesh.
for arranging this, and thank you AKES to arrange this.
Mm.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Preeti.
Sir, recently I just came to your Avishkar Center last week.
Mhm.
So you had taken one experiment, that pendulum wala.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh wow, ऐसा भी कुछ हो सकता है classroom में ना?
Mhm.
Why we always follow the jargons and the textbook. So that time I inspired by you कि अरे सर के तो सेशंस करने चाहिए, and नीता मैम helped me that she came from the Mumbai.
Okay.
तो उन्होंने मुझे बताया, then I joined this session and seriously I don't know about the certificate. मुझे नहीं पता था इसमें certificate मिलता है. I like your session, sir, and I want that you will take some bio वाला topic also, like life science का जो होता है, जो generally बच्चों को कभी कभी समझ में नहीं आते, cell and membranes वाले. So I want that you will take that sessions also.
करते हैं कभी कभी. बायोलॉजी इज अ वेरी, द वे इट इज डन इन आवर कंट्री एटलीस्ट, इट इज अ वेरी डिस्क्रिप्टिव साइंस.
Hmm.
बायोलॉजी जस्ट कीप्स टेलिंग यू कि
Yes.
ये लीवर होता है और किडनी होती है और ये होता है और वो होता
हाँ
है, वो बस
हाँ.
नाम बताते ही जाते हैं. बट nobody tells my kids, how do you know that you have two kidneys and not one?
Yes.
How
Correct.
can you figure that out for yourself? हम्म.
Hmm.
अब एक तरीका तो ये है कि आपका पेट काट के देखेंगे हम. लेकिन क्या उसके अलावा भी कोई तरीका है?
Hmm. So I willingly to learn that things from your side, sir.
मोस्ट वेलकम. आप कहाँ हैं प्रीति?
I came back to my city, sir, Nagpur.
अच्छा, नागपुर. ओके.
Yes.
हाँ हाँ, आप आकांक्षा फाउंडेशन से हैं?
Yes.
हाँ 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 हाँ, ओके ओके ओके. नाउ आई
Pune,
नो.
Mumbai, and Nagpur team came to join that
यस यस
learning
यस,
center.
बिल्कुल. वेरी मच, वेरी मच.